Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE here at our NYSE studio overlooking the trading floor, of course. We have our Palo Alto studio connecting Silicon Valley and Wall Street, tech and money, money and tech and converged. This is part of our Crypto Trailblazers series with the NYSE Wired programming community, and this is where we interview the leaders who are making things happen, people who are shaping the trends, setting the table for the next generation of digital assets, and also the future of money, and how we all interact with crypto. Nate Pola is here with Franklin Templeton in the digital assets side. Thanks for coming on, Nate. Appreciate you coming on. We just had breakfast with the Solana office. Good to see you.
Thanks, John. Great for having me. It's great to be
So
here.
you guys are leaning in. We had your colleague on 5 months ago. Very positive on the sea change happening in the market. Obviously, the stable coins, great tailwind there. You got the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, really setting the table for the big institutions to come in and do their business. And digital assets on chain is one of the top conversations. You're involved in the tech stack side, some of the market trends. What are you looking at? Because you guys have to kind of skate with the puck, but also skate to where the puck's going to be and know, kind of connect the dots. What are you guys looking at? What are you excited about? What's your view in the market right now?
Absolutely. So back when I got started in the space in 2018, 2019, I dreamt of a world where users could interact with the blockchain technology without knowing they were doing so. And ultimately, I knew that if that were the case, we'd be at the point where the tech was so well integrated that we could remove a lot of these moats and wouldn't have to worry about a lot of these serious barriers to entry that are pretty common with blockchain technology and with crypto in general. And so, as of the past year or so, we've seen a lot of these trends develop over time, and ultimately what we've seen is that outside of the US, and thanks for bearing with me here, a lot of this enthusiasm and energy and also ability to execute on these ideas has been true. We've seen this, but it's largely been opened up a lot more as the new administration has developed and brought in and helped remove a lot of these headwinds.
It's so hard because, when you have, we've covered IT transformation projects in the past. We've seen IT go from here to there. It's always been digital transformation was the buzzword. Now we're kind of in the business model transformation because money's involved, like top line money, operational systems. These are hard problems to solve because it's hard to just transfer everything over. So the chains are getting better. And as you guys look at this, it's like, okay, now real world is adopting blockchain but the business model cannot be compromised. It's got to be extended. And you got to build out the systems. And one of the trends is that the technology builders inside enterprises, and you guys are an enterprise in that class, have to come into the chains. What are some of the things you guys work with? What's important to you guys? What are the things that you guys care about?
Well, part of what's exciting about the technology itself is that there are a lot of opportunities for a wide assortment of yield and investment opportunities for traditional investors to get involved with, and now it's easier than ever to get involved with a lot of these. Some examples too, we're seeing the democratization of DeFi opportunities and seeing how the traditional investor can start to get access to a lot of these higher yields and provide new pieces to their portfolios. And at Franklin Templeton, we are in the portfolio business, and now incorporating tokens and wallets and a lot of these new tools enabled by blockchain are aspects that we're excited about including and starting to adapt our business practice around.
One of the things that your colleague mentioned on theCUBE here is that digital's here. We all have bank statements that show our bank balances, but there's no dollars in that account. There's dollars in the account, but it's pledged against a dollar. Stablecoins brings that stability where you can actually have tokens and have assets with stablecoins, has opened up some clarity around what to do on the regulatory side, which is great for us. And then she then said, hey, we just look at it as just digital. So you got digital and physical coming together. And this morning we were at the breakfast at the Solana office where it was the state of crypto, that was the name of the session, a view from Washington. So you were there, we met. What was your take on that breakfast? Watching it and thinking, seeing all the players in the room, very curated group, mix of people, leaders. What was your vibe there? What was your takeaway from that at breakfast?
Well, what excites me is how there are a lot of these larger conversations on government on an institutional level. If you look at a few years back, there was there is mixed messaging around consensus on if blockchain is here to stay, if this technology, if these currencies will prevail, and now it's becoming pretty widely known that this will be the case. I mean, even next week, we're going to see that the Senate's holding conversations around taxation of crypto. And as they start to revise these bills, when you get Uncle Sam involved, you know that it's something that the government wants a part of.
Yeah.
And even that in itself, understanding that there needs to be a revised conversation and take on how cryptocurrency should be taxed, that's something that is, that speaks to the validity of it.
What I walked away with was one, that the tech market is hot, obviously, in this area. But I was surprised to see how positive people were. And I know it's got a good regime there now, but what surprised me was there's blockers still in the way. So I hope that they do their job, because the tech scene is booming. And if you look at like cloud computing, what that did to the data center and the enterprise, that was great. Now you get the same impact happening into finance. So the question is that as a builder, you have to figure out what's the best way to get the chains on, satisfy all the stakeholders. So the question to you is, what do you do every day? Like, because you're at a big firm with a lot on the line. You guys are leaning in at Franklin Templeton. What's the scope of your job? You don't have to give any product information away, but like, what do you do? What do you do every day? How do you optimize? What are the things you work on?
So one of the things I love about my role at Franklin is that I get to be in the forefront of exploring disruptive and emerging technology. And this is a trend that Franklin Templeton is seriously adopted as a core piece of its practice, whether it's across different AI efforts with a variety of different tax loss harvesting and quantitative portfolio tools, and with digital assets. These are all components that, as you mentioned, we're adopting as a firm to not identify where the puck is, but where the puck is going. And how can we best establish our tools and provide what people will be looking for in a few years out.
What's the coolest thing you're working on right now, or maybe easier question without giving away anything? What excites you right now in the market? What tech, as you look at these disruptive enablements, because it's disruption, but it's enabling, right? You guys are enabled by this, so you're going to build around it. It's a systems play too, so it's like it's not just building an app. It's just like you got to integrate in. What's the most exciting thing that you're looking at that you like?
So there's a lot of conversation around, there's the institutional world and then there's maybe the more crypto native world. And a lot of what I've heard is that people describe these as two worlds that need to either compromise or come together in some way. But the way I see it, I believe that there's more of a third hybrid intersection. And this middle ground is where we're seeing users from both sides, like you have more of your traditional investors as well as more of your degen crypto users who are meeting in the middle and working together to solve a lot of the shortcomings that you may have had just with one side. Yeah. So an example of this that stands out is we're looking at different solutions where you might have a variety of investors along the cash flow waterfall or along the capital stack that can incorporate different risk tolerances based off of what may be more standard for, let's say, a fixed income or equity market versus a highly levered or looped crypto market. And so you can fill in a lot of these pieces, and this middle intersection is what's exciting me.
You know what I love, Nate, about what you just said is that this comes up a lot in the AI world we cover. We cover the NVIDIAs, the world, the Dells, the AI factory worlds. The tech stack has always been kind of, there's the tech stack. It's infrastructure, platform, apps. You start to see with AI, there's an AI stack emerging. You're kind of teasing out the finance stack. It's not so much fintech. I guess some say fintech stack, but you're getting at kind of the tech, more builder, technology enablement stack. Because one of the common themes from the young founders is they have to interact with the existing world, young and old coming together, because of things like compliance, data. There's known things that have to be in the system. So it's not just, hey, I wrote some great algorithms. I got amazing decentralized protocols, but they got to work in the real world. This is the real world assets on chain. How would you describe it? We were at a party or at a dinner and say, hey, what's the tech stack for finance? How would you describe that?
Well, something you said that brings up a great point, which was something that I wasn't expecting as much, but I was surprised by the level and the perspective that a lot of people in the crypto space have on the financial world, and how they have their own financial systems that are a different flavor of what we might currently have that are pre-existing, but they're ways that solve for exactly what they're looking for. They can provide exactly what they want as an investor, as a lender, whatever their role may be. And I think that having this perspective, that is a large signal in itself. It's a great way to find your product market fit. It's a way to identify exactly what investors are looking for, and so a lot of what I like to do is listen to these types of conversations and see what are those ideas that are even a little bit out there that do seem wild or extreme in some fashion.
By the way, that's a form of an entrepreneur. The weird ideas are the ones that probably do work.
Those are the ones that do.
They probably end up changing the world. Okay, so when you're on your listening tour and you're leaning in, get the ear to the ground. What do you look for? Because one of the things that you just mentioned is interesting is that when you look at like what you bring to the table, to the market, is that you have the data, but the cross connection of the young to the old, they want to fit into your world too. I mean, there's an intersection. The hardcore crypto folks, we're going to do it ourselves. On the hardcore on the other side, no, we can own it all. But I think that you're right. There's a centrist position of intersection, and efficiencies are huge right now. So what we're hearing a lot in the crypto Trailblazers is that it's the same game, just a little bit different because of this efficiency. Because, like I said, bank statement, there's probably a lot going behind the scenes. That's maybe legacy or modern legacy. But there's new ways to craft the same thing because of transparency, maybe because of protocols. There's tech here. What's your view on that? What does your ear of the ground tell you? Where do you see efficiencies? That's either white spaces for entrepreneurs, where there's opportunity.
Well, that's exactly it. That's one of the aspects that does excite me about this technology. It is a tool that can come and provide a more efficient. It can work in harmony with what we currently have, with a lot of the systems that are currently in play, and integrate in a way that does provide more efficiency. And so the ways that I do see this are, I mean, these are some of the more common ones that people talk about, but your settlement, you can see a much faster instant or near instant settlement in ways that doesn't always rely on the market on your market hours, and can work around the clock, can work internationally. Think in terms of your transfers of payments and funds and even denominations as well. Space that does really excite me is how you can start to offer new products to investors in new denominators and new denominations using tokenization.
Yeah. There's two things I love in this market. Settlements are hard. Payment rails, they're out there. We see that all the time. But settlement's hard. You guys cracked that code already. So it's like, that's check. That's good. Bring that to the table. You're seeing that to be a big part. And then also the how do you build new products? It's funny because like there's actually like a product opportunity here to layer in new products. You're seeing a lot more stakings, like creative entrepreneurial thinking around, well, we could actually, something new could come from this. There's always some new stuff. Any thoughts or observations around kind of that product manager role that might emerge, or I'm not to saying that someone emerge, but like product thinking, because now it's a product opportunity. All enablement creates opportunity.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking back to, I would say 2019 to 2020 was at the point where when I was working more in the venture space and was working with these smaller stage startups, and you would have a handful of groups that would just tack a blockchain on their business plan. They had no product, but can raise a lot of money. And you were seeing this as a trend, and it reminded me a lot of the trends that you saw in the early 2000s with the dot-com. And you become a dot-com company and you raise a handful.
And you went public too.
And you went public from there. And so I think that all goes to say, we're still at the point where the market is much more developed than it was a few years back, but there is tons of space for growth and for new entrants and for new angles. And we're seeing new technologies and even just combinations. It's the intersectionality of these new technologies. That's how we can use a combination of what's already out there, but apply it to a new vertical, apply it to a new ecosystem. And that is ultimately what excites me, is because that's what will provide the most value to people and build a community around the ecosystems.
Well, Nate, I really am psyched to interview you. Guys are in the ecosystem, you're in the community. Thanks for being part of the Wired. I'm sure I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this question, because I know, the entrepreneurs out there watching are like, how do I sell something to Franklin Templeton? Not that you're in the buyer mode, but you guys are participating and you're going to add to the system. When people approach you with a motion to engage, what's the bar? Is there like a filter, like things you like to see? Speed, latency, good culture, compliance. I mean, compliance comes up a lot. I'm sure that's like a table stake. Is there a filter Or is there a way you guys lean? Because you guys are very, leaning into this. What's the engagement philosophy at Franklin Templeton?
Well, what resonates with me on a personal level is community and ecosystem. And so the way I like to think about tokens themselves, they are a representation of the amount of value that a community or a network or a blockchain or protocol, however you want to describe it, it all has on its users. And so if you can create a system or environment where you have users that want to come together, they want to transact, they want to build, they want to share their content, whatever it may be, and that's just a small subset. The world is your oyster in that capacity. If you can build a community where people want to bring their experience, their knowledge, and what they have to this, and ultimately continue to develop and create new things in this community, that is where the flywheel begins. That's where this is going to skyrocket.
Well, you guys are doing great. Love the philosophy. More people are touching crypto-enabled value at the user level. That's over 20% of the population estimated. The proliferation of chains is another great metric, private and public. That's another great trend. Those things are going great. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
All right, Nate. All right, Franklin Templeton here in theCUBE. Again, everyone's leaning in. When you start to see end users and developers and chains come together, you see the formation of a market. This is the Crypto Trailblazers series where we interview the leaders, making it happen, moving the needle. I'm John Furrier, your host of theCUBE. Thanks for watching.